Deep beneath the glittering streets of Manhattan lies a world the public never sees. It is a network of subterranean fortresses known as free ports, hyper-secure, tax-free storage vaults where the global elite hide their darkest assets. In these freezing concrete bunkers, you'll find stolen Renaissance paintings, unregistered blood diamonds, and billions of dollars in illegal offshore gold. To own a free port is to hold the secrets of the most dangerous billionaires on Earth. To the high society press, Evelyn and Victor were the untouchable king and queen of this underworld. Evelyn was a glamorous, ruthless art dealer. Victor was a billionaire Swiss banker. Together, they had just constructed the Citadel, the most technologically advanced, impenetrable free port in American history. They were rich beyond imagination. They were passionately in love, and their empire was built on the absolute betrayal of a quiet man. That man was Silas. He wasn't a banker. He was a master chemical engineer and metallurgist. He was also Evelyn's husband. Silas was a true architect of the Citadel. He had designed the Aegis Climate Protocol, an electronic environmental system that could preserve fragile, centuries-old artifacts flawlessly. Silas gave his entire life to the project, trying to build an honest legacy for his wife. But Evelyn didn't want an honest legacy. She wanted infinite wealth. She brought Victor into their bed and into the boardroom. Together, they forged legal documents, stripped Silas of his patents, forced him into a brutal divorce, and locked him out of a facility he built. Evelyn thought she had played the perfect game. She thought she had used her husband's brilliant mind to secure a billionaire lover and endless power. But she forgot one crucial detail about working with a master metallurgist. Silas didn't just build a security system. He chose the exact metals inside it. And as Evelyn and Victor host the grand opening of their illegal vault, Silas is sitting in a cafe across the street, checking the weather. He hasn't brought a lawyer. He hasn't brought a weapon. He has brought a deep understanding of elemental chemistry. And he is about to show them that when you steal a man's foundation, the consequences will literally turn your empire to dust. The deception began 3 years earlier in a cramped, humid laboratory in Brooklyn. Silas and Evelyn were married, but Evelyn's ambition was a black hole that Silas could never fill. She was constantly surrounded by billionaires in the art world, whispering about how Silas was too small-minded for her. Silas ignored the whispers, focusing entirely on his work. The biggest challenge in building the Citadel's underground vaults was the electrical locking system. The biometric scanners and heavy steel doors required a massive, complex network of micro-soldered circuit boards to function. Because the vaults had to maintain a strict, cool temperature to preserve canvas paintings, Silas made a very specific engineering choice. He used high-purity, unalloyed tin to solder the electronic relays. It was a flawless conductor, provided the ambient temperature of the vault never dropped below a very specific threshold, 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Silas showed the completed design to Evelyn. Evelyn took the design straight to Victor. Victor, a ruthless predator in the banking world, immediately saw how to weaponize a facility to launder money for international cartels. The two began a passionate, greedy affair. One freezing evening, Silas returned to his lab to find the locks changed. Evelyn was standing in the doorway, draped in a coat that cost more than Silas's entire laboratory, with Victor by her side. "I'm filing for divorce, Silas," Evelyn said, her voice devoid of any warmth. "Victor's lawyers have already secured the intellectual property of the Aegis system. You didn't read the fine print on our marriage agreement. Everything you built belongs to my company." Silas looked at the woman he loved. "Evelyn, the system is delicately calibrated. You can't just hand it over to corporate contractors. They don't understand the chemistry of the components." Victor laughed, a sharp, arrogant sound. "We aren't paying you to give us a lecture. Silas, the system works. We are taking it from here. Go find another hobby." They left him standing on the sidewalk in the freezing rain, with nothing but the clothes on his back. For 3 years, the Citadel became the most famous illegal vault on the planet. Evelyn and Victor became billionaires. They housed hundreds of millions of dollars in smuggled artifacts and untaxed gold for corrupt politicians and criminal syndicates. The facility was an impenetrable fortress of steel and biometric security. Silas spent those 3 years working a quiet job as a risk assessment actuary for a high-end insurance firm. He didn't hack into Victor's bank accounts. He didn't hire a private investigator to expose their affair. He just sat in his small apartment, Reading the press releases about the Citadel, one particular interview caught his eye. Victor was bragging to a financial magazine about how he had upgraded the facility to appease a powerful Russian client who stored ancient, frozen Siberian antiquities. Victor had ordered the underground climate control system to be lowered from Silas's strict 60 degrees Fahrenheit down to a chilling 45 degrees. When Silas read that number, he didn't gasp, he didn't smile, he just closed his laptop and poured himself a cup of coffee, because Silas knew a terrifying secret about the periodic table of elements, a secret regarding pure, unalloyed tin. He wasn't waiting for a grand courtroom drama to get his revenge. He was waiting for an allotropic phase transformation. It is now a Friday night in December. The scene is the grand lobby of the Citadel, 50 feet below the streets of Manhattan. Evelyn and Victor are hosting a highly sensitive private tour. The United States Federal Bureau of Investigation, alongside the IRS, had demanded a routine inspection of the facility. Evelyn and Victor weren't worried. The Citadel was designed to hide its deepest secrets. The illegal artifacts and smuggled gold were locked inside Sublevel 3, a hidden sector secured by massive 2-ton steel doors that were completely invisible to the federal agents, hidden behind fake walls and locked by Silas's master electronic relays. As long as the doors stayed locked, the feds would find nothing but legal, registered artwork. Evelyn, wearing a sharp designer suit, was charming the lead FBI agent, walking him to the freezing, pristine white corridors. Victor followed closely, arrogant and completely at ease. But joining the FBI team was an independent insurance assessor, legally required to evaluate the structural integrity of the vault during the inspection. It was Silas. He wore a simple, tailored overcoat. Evelyn's smile faltered for a fraction of a second when she saw him, but she quickly regained her composure. Victor merely scoffed, assuming Silas was there to pathetically beg for his job back. "I see you're still working for a paycheck, Silas," Victor whispered as they walked past a row of locked vaults. "Try not to touch the walls. We wouldn't want you to smudge the paint." Silas didn't reply. He just looked at the digital thermostat on the wall. It read 45 degrees Fahrenheit, perfect, as the group reached the end of the main corridor, standing directly in front of the hidden wall that concealed illegal Sublevel 3. The lead FBI agent turned to Evelyn. "Everything seems to be in order, Ms. Vance," the agent said, holding his clipboard. The registered manifest matched the vault contents. "We will conclude the inspection." Evelyn smiled radiantly. "Thank you, Agent. We pride ourselves on absolute transparency." "Before you conclude, Agent," Silas's voice echoed softly in the freezing, concrete hallway, "I believe there's a structural anomaly regarding the electrical locking relays in this specific sector." Evelyn shot Silas a look of pure venom. "There are no anomalies. Silas, do your job quietly, or I will have you removed." "I am doing my job, Evelyn," Silas said, stepping forward, unbuttoning his overcoat. He turned to Victor. "Tell me, Victor, how long has the ambient temperature of this facility been kept below 56 degrees Fahrenheit?" Victor frowned, clearly annoyed. "About 6 weeks. We lowered it for a specialized client. Not that it's any of your business. The electronics are heavily insulated against the cold." "They are insulated against moisture." "Victor," Silas corrected, his voice completely calm, yet carrying a weight that made the FBI agents pause. "But they are not insulated against chemistry. It's called an allotropic phase shift. Historically, it is known as the tin pest." Evelyn's heart skipped a terrifying beat. She remembered Silas warning her about the temperature years ago, a warning she had completely ignored. "What are you talking about?" the FBI agent asked, narrowing his eyes. Silas didn't look at the agent. He kept his eyes locked on his ex-wife. "When I built the biometric locking relays for the heavy vault doors, I used pure white tin for the micro-soldering," Silas explained smoothly. "It's a highly efficient metal. But tin has a very unique weakness. When it is exposed to temperatures below 56 degrees for an extended period, it undergoes a spontaneous change at the atomic level." Victor stepped forward, his arrogance slipping into confusion. "What kind of change?" "It changes from metallic structure into a non-metallic, crystalline structure," Silas said, stepping closer to the hidden wall. "The volume of the metal expands by 27%. The internal pressure shatters the solder. The solid metal literally disintegrates into a crumbling, gray powder. The circuits break. The fail-safes disengage." Evelyn's face turned the color of ash. "Victor," she whispered, sheer panic flooding her voice. "The hidden doors, the default emergency setting for these specific vaults when experiencing total electrical failure, is to unseal, Silas revealed, his voice dropping to a cold whisper to prevent anyone from suffocating inside. The silence in the freezing underground corridor was suffocating. Then it happened from behind the pristine, white drywall in front of them. A loud, mechanical clack echoed through the concrete. It was the sound of heavy steel deadbolts disengaging. A low, hydraulic hiss filled the air, to the absolute shock of the FBI agents. The seemingly solid white wall began to slowly push outward. The hidden, 2-ton steel doors of Sublevel 3, having completely lost their electrical command signals as the tin relays crumbled to dust, automatically swung wide open. The brilliant fluorescent lights from inside the hidden vault spilled into the hallway. The FBI agents drew their weapons and stepped forward, staring into the massive, secret chamber. Stacked from floor to ceiling were hundreds of wooden crates marked with the insignias of sanctioned Russian oligarchs, clear plastic bags filled with raw, unregistered diamonds, and pallets stacked with billions of dollars in illegal, untraceable cash. It was the largest stockpile of illegal wealth ever discovered on American soil. No, 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 Victor screamed, hyperventilating as the federal agents immediately turned their weapons toward him and Evelyn. Close the doors. Override the system. You can't override dust, Victor, Silas said, standing perfectly still as the federal agents pushed the billionaire banker against the freezing concrete wall, violently clicking handcuffs onto his wrists. Evelyn fell to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. The empire she had built, the wealth she had stolen her husband's life for, was completely and utterly destroyed. She looked up at Silas, her makeup running down her face, her glamorous facade entirely shattered. "Silas, please," she begged, her voice cracking in desperation. "Tell them it was a malfunction. Tell them you can fix it. I'll give you everything back. I'm sorry." Silas looked down at the woman who had stripped him of his dignity and thrown him into the street. He didn't yell. He didn't offer a dramatic speech about karma or morality. He simply looked at her with the cold, calculating eyes of a scientist observing a failed experiment. "The chemistry is flawless, Evelyn," Silas said softly. "The only malfunction was you." Silas turned his back on his weeping ex-wife and her screaming lover. He didn't wait for the federal agents to take their statements. He calmly walked down the freezing, concrete corridor, pushed open the heavy exit doors, and stepped out into the chaotic, vibrant streets of Manhattan.